I won't go through all the steps right now though, and I will show you exactly how I got to this point, and the goof up happened over on the bandsaw, so I'll show you what I did wrong. Let's go. So what I ended up doing is just running and grabbing a piece of 1x8 curly maple here. Get yourself some mineral spirits over here and just give it a quick wipe down. That's really going to make everything pop out, give you a better idea of what it's going to look like. There you go. Then you'll really be able to see all that grain pop. Slice the section off that you're going to need. For the Telecaster, you're going to need 16 inches long, so you're going to want to make it about 17 or so, give yourself a little bit of extra room. And then what we'll do is we'll just take it to a bandsaw and we are going to resaw this, which just means you're splitting it right down the center. We'll just take it all the way down. So now that we've got our center line marked here, and I already set up my fence, so it's right down the middle there. Here is where I messed up. First of all, I should be attaching a larger fence to this. There are there's bolt holes on here that go all the way through, and what I can do is I could just attach, you know, a piece of MDF or any type of wood, and just come up with a higher fence. So that way it sits squarely against it. There's less room for, you know, sway back and forth. So that's where I messed up. I was so worried about following my top line there that I wasn't even paying attention to the bottom, and the bottom ended up kicking out on me. And I didn't even pay attention, so by the time I went through, by the time I noticed it, I should say, I was already, geez, almost coming out the end of the board there. So that's where I messed up, and I was already in pretty deep there too, and I didn't want to go scrapping that piece, so I ended up just having to plane it down thinner. That's what happened. That's really cool. So now that we've gone and ripped our stock all the way down, it's got to be pretty thin material now, which I don't like to run straight into the planer. Not safe. So what I do is I'll make what's called a sled. Basically, this was just an old shelf I had lying around, and I ended up cutting it. This one is 24, you know, quite a bit longer than our work pieces. And you could go ahead and you could use whatever you want. If you want to use MDF or plywood you have lying around, whatever you got. So what we end up doing then, use your double stick tape, secure it to the sled, make these little blocks. Same thing, whatever scrap you have lying around. MDF, that's all I used. Same thing, double stick tape. These aren't the actual ones I use, it's just scrap to show you guys. Now, the reason I put these blocks down are to eliminate any snipe from the planer over here. I know mine, this planer right here, I'll get about 2 inches of snipe, which snipe is just where it takes off more material on the ends than it does throughout the center. So in order to keep that from happening, put these what look like frog legs down there, and we'll tape it down, and I will measure mine out to about 2 inches, so I know, you know, depends on your planer might be different. So I have my 2 inches there, so this way when I feed it into the planer, these pieces right here are going to take the snipe. Okay, so now that we've run this through our planer, we got it to the thickness that we wanted, now it's almost time to glue up. I should also mention that before I even started cutting this on the bandsaw, I did run it through my, I've got a bench top joiner, so I did run it through there, and I did true up the ends, so, but when it comes time for gluing, sometimes it may not go together perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you on some scraps I have over here. Actually, they're not scraps, these are what I use for fingerboards, just haven't cut them up yet. Anyway, just imagining this is our stock, what you'll do is you'll fold them in half, just put them on a level surface, and you can use any straight edge you have. I've got some self-stick sandpaper that I'll stick to this. This is just this is a fret level beam I have, but the other side is perfectly level. So that'd be good, or if you have a level at home that you could throw some sandpaper on, anything with a perfectly straight edge. So then what you do is you'll just run it right along those edges, sand it down nice and good. So this way when you fold them down, you'll have a nice perfect seam there without any gaps. So then now we'll go on to how I glue these together. Okay, now that you're ready to glue, there's a couple of ways you can do this. One of them is like the setup you see here. Now normally I wouldn't use MDF, but that's just what I had laying around. It's just to show you how I do this. Take your two strips and you want to set it up. Well, first of all, I'll put down a piece of wax paper, parchment paper, whatever you want to call it. I'll throw that down for any squeeze out. So you want to have this set up so that when you put your two pieces together, it's going to form a little pitch. I don't have it set up perfect right now, but it's going to set up a little pitch like that. You're going to be about 1/2 inch, 3/4 off the table like that. That way when everything's glued up, all you've got to do is push down and the force will hold it together. Like I said, I normally don't use MDF because MDF will tend to bow. Use some solid wood. You could also, if you want, if you don't have a workbench, you could just cut out a piece of MDF, or if you have plywood lying around, whatever you've got. Or you could use your table saw, if you have a table saw. Another way of doing this, you could just, if you wanted to, you could just cut little blocks also and nail them in to your MDF or plywood or whatever you have. If you want, nail it right into your workbench, why not? Another way of doing this is just the same exact setup, just like this, except you wouldn't have so much pressure on these clamps. Just go ahead and release it just so it's holding it in place. Then you can go ahead and use your bar clamps and squeeze it together. Now don't squeeze so much that you're going to squeeze all the glue out the joint. You'll end up with a dry joint, and any pressure put on it afterwards, after it dries, it'll just split it in half. So clamp it down just to close up the gaps, and that's all you want to do. You don't want to put too much pressure, especially on this thin wood. Then after you go ahead and do that, take a damp rag and just wipe up all of your excess glue. Then what I'll do usually, if I end up doing the method, which I usually do, I'll end up using this method where you squeeze down, the pressure holds it in place. Then what I'll end up doing is putting another piece of wax paper over on top over here, and I'll throw a block on top of it and I'll clamp that down. Because especially that thin stuff, if you don't put anything on top of it, all that pressure will cause these pieces to bow. One of them will end up bowing usually. And then that's it. Let it sit overnight, and then in the morning, all you have to do is just scrape off the excess glue. Most of the time I'll just use a scraper, and that's it. Then it's ready to go on top of the body. Another little tip, if you don't plan on using this right away, and I mean probably even within a day, set it on a flat surface and put something heavy on top of it. If you have another body blank lying around, or even a body you just cut, just keep some pressure on there, because these thin pieces will have, especially any type of curly maple, they will have a tendency to start